Okay, we are recording. Well, welcome everybody to Copy That Pops, and we're going to get right into our episode today. I'm really excited. I've got a special guest for you who is a brand impact strategist who has spent more than 5 years helping hundreds of coaches, consultants, and course creators to clarify their vision, align their online brands, and take their businesses to the next level while experiencing freedom and fulfillment in the process. So our guest today is Annmarie Rose, and she's also the creator of Quizness, which is something we're going to really focus on today together. And it's a framework and training program that makes it easy for purpose-driving business owners to build their online brands with compelling quizzes that attract, engage, and truly serve their ideal audience members. So many questions to dive into when it comes to psychology and copywriting. So welcome, Annmarie.
Thanks for having me here. I'm super excited to be here, especially because copy and psychology are two things that I can nerd out about for hours on end.
Oh, good. Like mind with me. And we've also got another little special guest in the background people might be hearing. We've got baby Everin today. I am feeding him a little bottle, so hopefully he'll stay nice and quiet. But as I was telling Annmarie before we started recording, I'm trying out some nannies so that I can do podcast recordings without him in the background. But it hasn't worked out yet. Hashtag mom life. So we just have to roll with it.
It's a cute guest. Cute special
guest.
Yes.
Yeah, and we're recording the video too, so I'll put it back at the show notes on the website if anyone wants to go back and see. And right now you can see Everin in the video with a little milk mustache. He's had a nice long nap today, so hopefully he'll be in a good mood. He'll be in a good mood.
In a good mood, so.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about how we met. So we met through Pat Flynn group here in San Diego.
Yep. I'm almost positive that's how.
That's so cool. So how did you?
Like 3 years ago, I think now.
I know, right? Because it's so now 2020 as we record this, and I think that it must have been like late 2016 or early 2017.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
2017, I think. Yeah.
So how long have you been in business for yourself?
So I started working for myself in early 2016. But I was essentially freelancing, doing a whole bunch of different done for you content marketing services for a range of still primarily business owners who wanted to be growing online. But I was ultimately trying to figure out, okay, what the heck do I want to package that people need and want, and that's really gonna serve people and allow me to work with more of those people that I really enjoy working with. And so that took me about 1.5 years to kind of consolidate down. And during that 1.5 years, I wasn't super focused on building my own brand since I didn't really know what that was going to look like long term. But I've been building, known for strategy and specifically brand strategy for about the past 1.5 years.
Yeah, very cool. And when did you then start getting into quizzes and implementing those?
So I created my first quiz in 2017. So that was when I was about that 1.5 years, about 1.5 years into working for myself, had determined I had hired my first business coach who basically said to me when we were on a coaching call for me, why don't you stop doing done for you services and provide strategy? And because that comes so naturally to me, I figured no one would pay me for it, as we so often do,
right.
Enjoy our gifts. We are like, well, why would anyone pay us for them? Well, because they're your gifts and not other people's gifts.
Mm-hmm.
So when she finally said that to me, it took me a while to kind of pare down some packages, but I knew right when that light bulb went off, I was like, this is what I want to build long term. And I'm excited about this. And so I started working to create a quiz to start building as like a lead magnet to start building my brand, building an audience, and sort of doing those things that I've been helping other business owners do for over 1.5 years at that point.
Yeah, and I just want to say testimonial to your brain and your strategy mind, because every time that we've ever gotten together or just at the Pat Flynn meetings, people will say, oh, I'm really stuck on this or that. And you're just like, the exact questions to ask to just hone in and target on what they're trying to communicate and to whom and the best way to get there. So
thank you. I appreciate that. I do. My mind tends to form pretty clear paths quickly.
Yeah.
Sometimes so quickly that if I'm on a call with a client who I can kind of sense the energy, they need a little more time to sort of be ready to receive that message. I have to temper myself. I know, okay, Annmarie, yes, you can see the clear path, but guide them there first. Be patient. So Yeah. Well, thank you for saying that. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So our audience is in for a treat.
Yes.
So, okay. So let's talk about quizzes and how they're beneficial psychologically
Mm,
for, I mean, a lot of things. For some things off the top of my head, but you can jump in because you really focused in on this. Getting clarity for yourself, showing your audience that you understand them, providing targeted, customized help and answers. Like, what are some of the psychological benefits you found with quizzes?
yeah. So I didn't dive too much into this before, but I did after creating that first quiz. Then I kind of started my clients realizing,
Yeah.
okay, they want to create quizzes. So I was helping them to figure that out, to do that too. From a psychological standpoint from the business owner, in terms of creating something that's going to build your brand, I think there's a lower barrier to entry with quizzes if you have the steps to set one up effectively for most people. And here's why. If you think about creating an ebook, and I know you're the book girl, so I don't want to like,
No worries.
but sitting down and writing a book takes time. And,
Oh yeah, yeah.
or you've put in, some people love blogging and they've built up this, big library of articles that then they can easily turn into a book. But I'm not someone who loves to sit down and put long form content together, at least not stuff that I feel like I have to do. So I was always really hesitant to put together some sort of ultimate guide. And then there's also the design aspect for like a checklist or whatever, that I'm not a designer. I can maneuver my way around Canva pretty well and have, banked quite a few templates at this point. But I'm not a graphic designer. So having to design something that looked really great, I was also there was just a barrier to entry there. Well, when I finally figured out that you could use specifically Typeform, I already had that as a tool that I was using for my business, kind of for intake forms and different things like that. I figured out that I purchased a course that had a tutorial in it on how to set up quizzes using Typeform. And I actually purchased the course specifically to get that tutorial. And then I was able to set it up and didn't need any of those. I could write some questions, write some responses, and pick some nice colors. I didn't have to do those, sit down and write long form content and then design and make it look really pretty after the fact. So for me, there was a lower barrier to entry in creating one.
Well, I like that. And so is Typeform free for people?
Typeform does have I believe has a free version. Now there's some configurations that you want in Typeform specifically to be able to do something called like logic jump or scoring. And I believe those features are premium, but it's not super expensive. And the thing I vacillate now between Typeform and Interact, which Interact is an exclusively, you buy Interact if you want to set up a quiz. That's the only reason you would invest in Interact. But for Typeform, it's nice. I do like, especially back in 2017 when I was still newer in business, I wanted to get like the most bang for my buck in any tool I was investing in. So I liked that I could use Typeform for multiple purposes in my business and set up a quiz on that. Now I also invest in Interact so that I have both and have experience with both and can help people with both. But Typeform is a great option. And both of those do have free versions, but generally to get like the full functionality for quizzes, you're going to want to pay for at least the minimum subscription. And it's not neither one is super expensive. So.
Yeah, that makes sense. And just a quick shout out to a girlfriend of mine. I don't know if you've met Sarah. I'm forgetting how to pronounce her last name, but she has the Biz Template Babe.
Yes.
So I'm feeling like an idiot for forgetting Sarah Young, but she has like a hyphenated name, and I can't remember how to say the hyphenated part, but yeah, Sarah Young. So biztemplatebabe.com. She is a graphic designer by trade, and she made 1 billion templates to use inside of Canva for like everything, social media, books, like the works. So I'll put a link to that in the show notes because that is super valuable for people if they feel like, oh yeah, I get stuck on that too with the design.
Yeah, barrier to entry. And even if like you are considering creating a quiz, it is like my current quiz, you get a downloadable guide that helps you with helps you to communicate your message more clearly depending on the type of brand that you have. So it is nice to include some of that bit of collateral that is designed. But yeah, Canva makes it super simple. And if you have access to great templates, then that makes the process even easier.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I love that. Like psychologically, it's easier for the business owner to create versus sitting down and writing a book. Plus, like or I mean like anything. And I'm like the book girl, but I'm also the like everything girl. So once you get a book, then speak on stage and write blogs, like just do, it's like these days you gotta do it all, you know, wear so many hats, we all do. But I love this too for like the business owner then, because as you're getting quiz responses, how do you see the answers on the back end? So then you would know what the book should be about.
Totally. But my first quiz didn't grow my list by a lot because I didn't have a great promotion plan in place, which is the reason I developed this Quizness framework, is because I was discovering, oh, here's the missing piece I didn't have last time. And here's the thing that client needed or whatever. And I kind of compiled all the essentials into a framework. But my first quiz, what it really did was help me to realize that so much of my audience at that point needed help with, they needed more clarity around like what they were even trying to offer in the world, what they stood for, which is essentially help with your brand and your brand strategy. So that really kind of gave me the confidence to own my own role as a brand strategist and to sort of draw my own line in the sand and say, this is what I do, this is who I serve, and this is how I can help you, because I had proof that that's what people believed they needed help with, because they had said that when they were taking my first quiz.
Yeah, it's amazing feedback, like right there on your website.
Totally.
Yeah,
and I wanted to mention about the psychology of what I love about quizzes is also, especially now when there's so much information that's accessible out there. There's new books and podcasts and all the things, webinars, and we can be consuming information all day, every day, and there's no end. So what I love about quizzes is that they actually provide the opportunity to give your audience clarity and direction that they need based on their unique circumstances, versus something like an ultimate guide or whatever that's more information for them to consume. If you're the expert on a particular subject matter, then you can really tailor not only the information you continue to give them via email or whatever, but you can also point them in the right direction based on their responses to the quiz, which is, in my opinion, more helpful than saying, here's everything you need to know about XYZ. It's like, here's exactly what you need to know based on your unique circumstance about XYZ. So I find that to be valuable.
Yeah, tell them more about the customization, because I took your quiz right before this call so I could see it in action. And I discovered that my brand is a quote unquote mentor brand, which makes a lot of sense. I used to be a teacher, like that's my style. And so what I received in the results in the email was specifically tips around a mentor brand.
Yep, exactly. And there's a guide as well that's tailored to the particular type of brand that you discover you have when you take my brand message breakthrough quiz. And what is so nice about that is, so really there's two main types of brands. There's the mentor brand and the expert brand. And I don't want to dive way too deep into what each of those specifically are, but there's a unique way that a mentor brand can communicate that's going to naturally attract the people who want what you have to offer, the people that need your gifts, that those are not their gifts. And so what I've done in the subsequent emails that you receive after you take the quiz and discover your mentor brand, as well as the guide, is to give you specifically those insights around how the words you should use, words I recommend using, specific ways you can tailor like your bio and all other types of copy, so that the way you're communicating is naturally going to attract more of those people that you're truly meant to serve, not just anyone who needs help with whatever it is that you do. It's more of those people who are looking for someone with looking to work with a brand that has those mentor brand qualities.
Yeah, that's so powerful to be able to target what people are actually looking for that like matches your personality. So just if anyone else feels like they might be a mentor brand, some of the keywords that you shared with me in the results was experience, journey, roadmap, guide, support, clarify, uncover, which I like that one, surprising, honest, empowering, intentional. And you even gave some ideas of different content that I could produce. Things like behind the scenes, interactive workshops, live tutorials. I love doing like live video screen flow tutorials, podcast interviews like this. So I appreciated that from your quiz, where you gave like specific advice. And that's what anyone who's listening could do, is like, the different sort of archetypes of clients that come through, and you can give them targeted advice aligned with what you offer based on their responses.
Totally. And you can tailor your copy as well, or the different mechanisms that you decide to include in any sort of sales content based on people's responses. So like for me, I have, like I said, I basically created this quiz to help me, well, one, attract more audience members. And then I also wanted to segment my audience a little bit better, because I knew I was attracting some clients who were more of a coach who'd been through something, or a coach or consultant who'd been through something, and they almost like I'm doing with quizzes, like I went through it. It was confusing. I invest a lot of money to figure it out. And now I want to help people do it and in a way that's even easier. So I've been through it, and I want to help someone, and I'm going to share my story with you and all that stuff. And so people want to work with me because they want to experience similar results to what I've achieved, versus an expert brand tends to be someone who is well-versed in a more specific subject matter and delivering a specific result. Although quizzes are a specific subject matter and you do get a specific result out of it, the whole big picture, my brand is ultimately having an aligned brand strategy. Someone who's an expert brand, there could be another brand strategist out there who has just an expert brand. Mm-hmm. Expert brands just tend to be super analytical, really would be someone who's more likely to purchase something after hearing statistics. They know the ins and outs of whatever it is they do. An example might be like a Facebook ads expert who knows all the Facebook ads policies. They're your go-to source for Facebook ads, and people are following an expert brand more because they trust that person to just handle the thing for them, or at least give them the steps that they know for sure it's going to get handled if they follow the steps. A mentor brand, you're almost suggesting they tend to guide people in the right direction for them based on their own, the mentor brand, they're sharing their story and they're helping to guide people in the right direction for them, versus an expert brand, like here's how you do this thing and check all the right boxes. And I know because I'm an expert at this thing and have seen it done 8,000 different ways. That makes sense.
Yeah, totally. I know. I kind of almost think of like an expert brand as like a PhD in something, where it's like, I have gone through like 20 years of experience and like, I know exactly what to do. Just do this.
Right.
You be quiet. And then like a mentor brand is a bit more like, hey guys, like we're more like peers and friends. I just went through this like last year. Let me, help you avoid the pitfalls. And to me, that's like a bit more accessible these days.
For sure. And it totally depends, because there are certain subject matters or different solutions I'm looking for where I actually want an expert brand. Facebook ads would be a great example of that. Like I don't care about being an expert at Facebook ads. If I'm
like a doctor, you'd want like an expert brand as a doctor.
Sure. Yeah. I don't need you to teach me all the science behind whatever's wrong. I mean, I'm going to do some digging probably, but you know what I mean? Like there are certain things where I just want to know, just tell me the right steps because I trust that you figured it out. But there are other things where I kind of want you to just help me navigate this journey a little, like in a way that's right for me. So and there are certain personality types of brand owners that are better suited to one versus the other. And neither one is, like I said, neither one is better than the other. It's just my ultimate goal is to help more people work and live in a way that's aligned with like who they truly are, so that they feel lit up on an everyday basis and they're elevating other people with the work that they do. So ultimately, if you're communicating in a way that's more aligned with who you really are, you're going to attract more people who want that and who want to invest in your gifts, and you're going to feel better every day. So that's kind of the bottom line of why I set up the quiz the way I did.
Yeah. And I like that too, because like when it comes to copywriting, I know I've done this. I mean, like I'm a quote unquote expert copywriter, but even when I'm still writing my own copy, like, trust me, I change it every 5 seconds. And, I'll like look around online and look at what other copywriters are doing, what other people in different industries are doing. And like, sometimes I'm like, oh, that's such a good angle. Like, oh, I should adjust my stuff to be more in that way. Obviously never copying anything, but just kind of being influenced. Mm-hmm. And then at the end of the day, it's like, it's all disjointed because you're pulling ideas from all over the place, when really it's nice to kind of just sit and reflect and be like, okay, really, who's the core of me? And let me just use that, my own true voice, instead of trying to kind of be everything to everyone and pulling stuff from all the place. So I would just say, if anyone's listening to this conversation right now and feels a little bit scattered, to take the quiz that you have on your website, AnnmarieRose.com, just to see some insights into their own perspective. And it was pretty fast. It took me like just a couple minutes.
Yeah, I'm shocked at, I initially thought it would take people about 10 minutes to complete, because I asked you to like, I didn't make it easy necessarily to just, you could fly through and click like which colors do you like best or anything like that. But so I was shocked at how like it has a really incredible completion rate, like 85% or something. So I'm like, and it doesn't take 10 minutes. It takes about, the average completion time is about 4 minutes and 55 seconds.
Okay. Yeah. Cause like if something, you know what I hate, that's maybe a good thing to jump in and you can give advice on, is like when you start taking a quiz and then it ends up being like 35 minutes of your life and you're just like page after page. And I'm like, and also what I liked about yours, it's not all text. There's also images, and it was just a little bit more fun to take it. So can you give advice too around making a quiz more interactive and fun and not so like daunting with giant blobs of text or whatever?
Yeah, using images is a great idea, and mixing up the media that you're using. And I also give like descriptions. So I try to ask the question as succinctly as I can, but then I also factor in and recommend doing this, thinking about, okay, how's someone actually going to receive this message? And do you need to add more clarity in the form of a description or whatever it is? But yeah, mixing it up with images is great and helps to kind of break things up. And I also, I mean, what you mentioned is like 35 minutes later, you didn't know where, if you really have a quiz that needs to be long for whatever reason, I think giving people a heads up on how many questions it's going to be might be helpful. But ultimately, the best length for a quiz is about, I say 6 to 8 questions, not including name and email, but up to 10 is fine.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good bit of advice. Maybe like plus or minus a couple, but don't get too crazy. If you're going to ask like 50 questions, people are probably going to bounce, or at least if they weren't going in with that expectation.
Definitely. Like I think if you think of, I don't know if you've ever taken the Strengths Finder assessment, that one's really long. I think it takes like at least 20 minutes. But they give you a heads up that when you sit down to take the Strengths Finder assessment, you know that's what you're getting into. It's not a surprise to you. But yeah, if you're just trying to drive people from an Instagram post to take a quiz, the likelihood they're going to stick around for 20 to 30 minutes is not great. So
yeah, totally. Any advice for people on what their quiz topic should be and questions they should think to ask?
Yeah. So quiz topic, one thing I love to do, and I do this pretty much anytime I'm coming up with something new, is put out a post to, your social media. Even if you only have 100 followers, that's still, if some of those followers are people who would be potential clients or customers, you have enough people to kind of ask this question, or even text it to some people, but say, I'm thinking about creating a new resource around blah, 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 whatever it is that you do. So for me, I would say clarifying your brand message. What's the number one thing that you would love to know about blah, 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 or that what would you love to learn about, or what's the number one thing that trips you up when it comes to clearly communicating your message, for example. So I gave you a bunch of different options there, but yeah, I tend to put out a post, and then that even just a couple of responses, that'll give you hints as to what people might like a quiz topic around. So let's say people said finding the right words to communicate that feel authentic and like I'm really reflective of my voice. So I might create a quiz on find your brand voice in less than 5 minutes, or five questions to find your brand voice, or what's your authentic brand voice, or something like that. That's a great starting point for just getting hints as to what your quiz topic should be. You also do want to consider, though, the strategic reason you're creating a quiz for your brand, because there are several types of quizzes that can be relevant and most helpful for you, like as a business owner, depending on what your goals are or what you're struggling with at this point.
Yeah, what are some different types of questions or styles would you suggest?
Yeah, so different types of quizzes that you might consider creating. One would be a personality assessment, or I call it a persona quiz. So that's like the one we've been referring to, my most popular one at least, the brand message breakthrough quiz, where it almost helps you to identify with a specific archetype or brand persona. And that would be one example. And, or an example of, what's your brand voice personality or something. That would be another one where you're sort of helping to just unearth some characteristics and then assign them a persona or archetype, or put them in a bucket based on those characteristics. Mm-hmm. And so that's one type, and very popular for mentor brands, by the way. Then another one would be a readiness quiz. So this might look like, do you have, I'll just come up with an actual example of what do you have what it takes to start developing mobile apps? So this is a real client that I worked with, and he is a developer who launched a coaching program for developers, specifically developers who already they're web developers, but they want to become mobile app developers. And I'm not a developer, so there's some specific code languages that you need to know and be well versed in order to kind of make that transition in a way that's seamless. So it was more of a readiness quiz on how ready he kind of gave them a skills assessment, if you will. And if it was really clear that they didn't know it was JavaScript that he needed to know if they knew a certain amount of. They didn't know hardly any. He said, okay, here's the next. He gave them some quick tips, but he knew that person wasn't ready to start working with him. And then that middle ground person said, you really only need to learn this and this, these couple of things. Jump on a call with me and I may be able to help you figure that out in a couple sessions. So you got them on a discovery call. And then someone who was really ready, had the appropriate amount of JavaScript skills, they got put into the bucket of categorized as being ready to participate in his group coaching program. And so he let them know that was going to be kind of a start to finish solution to help them start developing mobile apps. That was an example of a readiness quiz. So how ready are you to blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, and essentially it's kind of like, how ready are you to work with me? Which is like, so it's like a pre-qualification. And on the back end, are you then able to segment them like in your email list so you can give them different targeted messages as follow-up too?
Definitely. Those are the two, and that one is really great, especially for expert brands, because like I said, with expert brands, people are coming to you because they don't want to become the master in whatever it is the solution is that you provide. So ultimately kind of helping them, they may not even know when it's time to need that thing or need that help or need that support or that solution. So setting up a quiz to help them determine if in fact they're ready is super helpful and exactly right. It helps you to pre-qualify the people that, especially if you're selling over the phone, helps you to get on the phone with people who only have that right qualification. And then I did want to mention one other type of quiz. These are kind of the three main types. The other type is what I call a prescription quiz. And this is best for brands it could work for mentor brand, expert brand, all of these could. But this is great if you have a lot of different types of offers, or even if you just, you provide the same type of solution, or you have a framework that you teach or help people through, and you've got a self-guided course, you have a group program, and you have a one-on-one offer. A prescription might just be helping them to determine the best way for them to go about navigating that framework. And it's great to then, you can point them in the right direction based on their responses. I did this with a client of mine who is an expert on visioning. She helps a lot of primarily corporate clients or CEOs to craft their vision for both their business and their company and their life. But she also has everyone from, solopreneur style business owners, or just even people who just want to feel more like they're moving in a direction in their lives. So she used a quiz as wasn't the very first touch point people had with her brand, but it was the second one. So she would attract them with I believe it was a guide it was like a mini workshop on visioning and how it can, really help you to wake up every day feeling clear, like you're moving in a direction. And then the second, the second touch point she had after that was take this quiz to go figure out what the best visioning process is for you. And then she was able to point them in the right direction towards the offer that was going to be best suited for them.
Oh, I like that. So yeah, you're making me think of like the different stages you could use the quiz in. Because I kind of have a quiz. It's not really a quiz. I have like a survey form that I have people fill out. if they want to get more help. So it's kind of a little bit further along in the process, but I have everyone fill it out before I get on a call with people. It is sort of a pre-qualification as well, just because with this baby, I don't have a lot of time, and none of us have a lot of time, whether you have a baby or not. Like, you have to really value your time, and I want to help everybody, but just from asking certain questions, I can tell if someone is really ready to go with a book, or if they're just like, yeah, it's sort of a dream and I think I might do in 5 years. And it's like, okay, if that's the case, let me give you some free resources just to kind of like get it on your radar and then come back when you're ready. So I kind of use it a little bit further along the process, but I like the idea of using it right up front, or maybe as like a second step, and making it more fun. Because right now mine's kind of just like, Q&A, just like you can pick an option or just write a little sentence here or there, but there are images. It's not like as interactive and dynamic like yours was. So I can see how adjusting it could make it even more fun and like interactive, beneficial for the user.
Totally. And I'll just give an example that how I'm planning to start using a quiz further along my process is like for this, I'm launching a group. Well, I have a group program. It's open for enrollment now, but I don't think this episode won't be going out then. That's around creating quizzes, and that's going to turn into a course. Well, I'm using a quiz to help people to determine what type of quiz is right to create for their brand. So I'm creating a quiz on quizzes, and but that's not going to be the first touch point people have with my brand around quizzes. I also have a roadmap that shows what's involved with the quiz creation process. So people can download that, and then I can send them, oh, hey, by the way, take this quiz. So anyone that takes that quiz to find out what type of quiz they should create for their brand, I can reasonably assume they're pretty serious about creating a quiz, because they've now just downloaded the roadmap and they've taken the quiz to figure out which one. They're probably pretty ready to create the quiz. So using it as a second touch point is pretty powerful, because if they're going to take that second step and go through all the questions, you can reasonably assume they're ready for what it is you offer.
Yeah, that's cool. Okay, and what about some psychological benefits then for the person who takes the quiz?
Yeah, so this is my favorite thing about quizzes is if someone is going to spend the time to answer questions and engage with a quiz, because a quiz is the only one I can think of. Your audience may have other ideas, but the only lead magnet or free resource I can think of that to engage with it at all, you have to engage with it before they end up on your email list. So anyone who is on your email list as a result of taking the quiz, unless of course you ask for their email and then you send them a link to it, which I typically don't recommend. But if you're asking for their name and email as part of the quiz process, you already know that anyone on your list who's in your audience and has taken that quiz has spent at least a few minutes with your brand. Versus if you, let's say, run a Facebook ad and you say, oh, download my free guide to writing your book. And I think, oh, I may want to write a book one day, which would be my actual mindset at this point in time. Maybe someday down the road I would. I'll just grab her guide and I'll hang on to it. We all know what happens then. I'm getting emails from you in my separate email account that
you forgot about.
Where I said everything to that's is for things I might want to do eventually. And I'm getting emails from you for the next 2 years, which is actually like lowering your open rates. And I haven't even looked at the guide. So that's what tends to happen. But for a quiz, someone is that person, the audience member is actively engaging with your brand, which increases brand affinity before they ever even end up on your list. So that's reason, psychological principle number one is that if creating something that they have to engage with to even get any value from is pretty powerful.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And then also like, I'm trying to think of like how to say it. It's like it clarifies things in their mind. So it's almost like educating them to work with you as well.
Yeah, 100%. So I was going to lead there, but I almost had a sense that you were going to lead there. So, and I gave my first favorite reason that's still kind of favorite thing from a business owner standpoint is that I know everyone on my list who's taken my quiz has already engaged my brand for at least like 4 minutes and 50 seconds or whatever.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right that it's just like a good coach is going to do more asking questions than telling. You're essentially coaching them to open their mind up to the solutions that you provide by asking the right questions and by encouraging them to make a decision. So you probably noticed when you were taking the quiz, there were some options, like specifically the one that's what's on the other side of your current brand building roadblock. And it, has these several great things like more engagement, more authority, more clarity, whatever it is, things that we all want to some degree. They all sound great, but I'm asking you to pick one. So which one do you most want? Which of these really awesome things sounds best now? Like if you could experience them most immediately. And I know it's a hard question. I know because I've gone through the quiz live with several people. I do it with pretty much any client I book. If they haven't already taken it, I'll take them through it. And everyone says, they all sound great. I'm like, I know, but you have to pick just one. And that's like being a good coach or a good consultant is, there's a million one options or things we want, but what's next? What's now? What's the focus? So getting them to start making those decisions instead of thinking critically into like owning what it is they want opens their mind up to be ready to receive the next messages that I have for them about getting clear on their overall brand strategy.
Yeah, that really resonates with my experience too, because I feel like around books, I have so many people who just come and they're just completely overwhelmed, which makes sense because like I'm overwhelmed about everything else that I'm not personally helping people do, right? Okay. And they just want an answer. Like, so sometimes even, for example, this is on my mind, people say, how long should my book be? And my answer that I want to say is as long as you want it to be. But people don't want that. They want just like, tell me the page numbers. So like, okay, 150 pages, 9x6, go. And they're like, thank you. Okay, just like give me a clear target. I'm exhausted. I don't want to Google this for the next 15 years to figure out what's the perfect book dimension and size or whatever. So I think by doing that, the quiz where it's like you can only pick one and you give them very enticing things, but it forces them to just eliminate distractions and hone in on what they truly want, which is part of what they're coming to you for.
100%. That's like probably one of the biggest things that people walk away saying is like, you help me focus. You help me. I tend to, a significant number of my clients struggle with shiny object syndrome. And I know this because I've been there and I've had to learn to focus and to make those tough decisions for myself so that I could get anything done. And so now I really help my clients to do that. And my quiz is a very clear representation of that if someone's not going to finish the quiz because they don't want to pick which like next result they want to experience in their business, that they can't pick the next good thing they want, they're not ready to work with me because they're going to have to make decisions and get focused. And if they can't focus and make a decision long enough to just determine the next result they want in their business, we're not a fit, at least not yet.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I definitely picked the shiny object syndrome question on your quiz.
Oh, so that tells me, this is an interesting point, which I think that you'll love and your audience will love. That question only gets delivered to people who have up to that point tied in their answers so they were split between mentor and expert brand, which I am not surprised at all for you that you were split up to that point.
Funny.
But there's certain questions on the back end that are set up to say, okay, if someone answers this way, it's 1 point for the mentor bucket. And if they answer this way, it's 1 point for the expert bucket. Well, a lot of people, but the majority of people, when they take it, they'll answer only the things that would put them in the one particular bucket. But there's a certain portion of people who answer some questions and they end up split. So then I have a specific question set up for them that says, which one do you tend to struggle with? Have you struggled with more on your brand building journey, shiny object syndrome or perfectionism? And then based on that answer, I'm able to more clearly identify which type of brand that you have.
That's awesome. Well, that's cool too, that people can know that the way you can set up these quizzes, you can make like tiebreaker kind of questions that only show up if people have done XYZ along the way. So it can be really customized, but not super complicated to make, I imagine.
No. It sounds like how I was just describing it. You're probably like, how do you even begin to put this together? But like I said, it's almost like setting up your website for the first time, or, I mean, maybe you haven't done that, but anything you do for the first time, or at least how I feel whenever I get into like a new piece of software or something, I'm like, what am I doing? What's happening? Which is why I love, if I can go to YouTube and just find someone to walk me through that setup process, I'm good to go. But so for quizzes, same thing. It's like, it's confusing at first, and seems overwhelming, and like, there's a lot of tech, but it's not that complicated. And if you have, which steps to do in the right order, anybody can do this.
Yeah. And of course they can work with you to get more help if they want even more depth. So of course, AnnmarieRose.com, for sure. Go and check that out.
And if you want to go straight to the quiz, by the way, you can just go to brandmessagequiz.com. You don't even need to go to my site. You can just go straight to the quiz itself.
Okay, cool. Brandmessagequiz.com. Okay, I'm going to write that down for the show notes too. And anything else? What have I not asked about being distracted by this naughty baby?
He's not being naughty.
That's why I'm turning the video off half the time, because he's being very naughty.
How old is he?
4 months.
Yeah, so her 4-month-old is being extremely naughty. Wink, wink. Like, how naughty can a 4-month-old be? I'm trying to think if there's anything else that is super important for people to know, or.
I'm showing him on the screen. If anyone's, he's now lying on my desk next to me. You naughty.
It's a good spot. No, I can't think of too much else other than that it is important to think about how you want to follow up, and the result, having a result that's going to be framing is a huge thing, or a huge part of creating an effective quiz. And by framing, there's like a specific definition for framing. I'm not one to remember many definitions of things, specific definitions, but it's basically like making something sound good or sound a certain way, positioning it, right? Mm-hmm. And so you can, like, even that mobile app quiz, it could have said, how well do how proficient are you in JavaScript, right? But that's less compelling than how ready are you to develop mobile apps? Because in Dan's case, he knew that his audience wanted to learn. They want to know, they don't know how to develop mobile apps, but they want to know how. So it's like, how ready are you to become a mobile app developer? And that it was just the way that it was framed that mattered. And then with the results as well, he didn't say, you're not ready at all. He said, okay, here's the ground you still have to cover, and here's the best path forward in order to do that. You want to frame it in a way that it's compelling and that people will actually want to engage with it, versus like no one wants to feel like they're being tested in math class, for example.
Right.
At least I don't. Maybe
yeah,
Laura.
I know. I am kind of a nerd for math, but
yeah, I definitely don't want to feel like I'm being tested in math class. So fail that test.
I know. But that's a really great point. Like for quizzes and for anything really psychologically and copy-wise, it's like you got to phrase the question or phrase anything you're saying around what is the goal that the person wants, versus it's kind of like the benefits versus the features sort of aspect, where it's like, yeah, people don't care about being a good JavaScript coder. They care about making awesome apps that sell money.
100%.
So like focus on that.
Totally. Yeah. Focusing on that end result that people want is huge. And I would a great thing to when you have an idea of what you want your quiz topic to be, a great question to kind of ask yourself so that you take a strategic approach is, when someone takes this quiz and ends up on my email list, what can I reasonably assume about them? Because I know, for example, that everyone who has taken my quiz and is currently on my email list, they believe their brand message is not as clear as they'd like it to be. Because it said, my prompt to them, my ads that I've run for it, they say, clarify your brand message in 10 minutes or less. And then what's the best way for you to clarify your brand message? So if someone believed my brand message is super clear, they're not going to take it. They're not going to take the time to do it. So I can reasonably assume that everyone on my list who's taken the quiz believes their brand message isn't as clear as it should be, which then opens up a lot of avenues for me to start conversations related to that with them that can help me to guide them towards my offers.
I love that. Yeah. Yeah. It's like so simple when you say it, but then I think sometimes we get lost in the weeds and then forget like what the information we really have.
Yeah, totally. And so it takes so many people jump right into like just the creating, let me set it up. I'm excited about that. I just got Interact or whatever. But if you step back and you kind of take the time to think through that, to really put the strategic thought into it, everything that you create is going to have so much more of an impact on your business than if you just say like, what colors do you like, or what font is best for your brand or whatever, that those are fun and easy to set up and quick to put together. But then once people actually go through and take it, it's like, where are you going to lead them next? What's the point here? But the strategic thought does take some time, to work through, but it's doable. It is doable.
Yeah. And I would love your thoughts on this too. If someone's feeling overwhelmed, like, oh my God, I'm never going to get so clear on my strategy right away, I would suggest just start with any questions you can possibly think of. And as you start getting answers, you'll start to see whether they're helpful to you or not. And that's like what I did with my survey question is I had a bunch of questions and then I got some responses and I was like, oh, I don't actually need to know that. And that's cool, but that doesn't even help me. And I would start to revise it as I went. So it's like, don't wait until you have all the perfect questions crafted for the perfect strategy you ever have in your whole business. It's like, just get started. And as you get answers, you're going to be able to improve it.
Totally. I've created 3 quizzes for my own brand. And like this one is my current quiz is definitely the most powerful. My first one was like way too complicated from both a setup standpoint and just like, it was just, I overcomplicated things, which tends to be my MO. Like the first time when I do something, I say it's almost, I picture like if you clean out your closet, you take everything out and then you reorganize and purge things. That's like how I approach any new project is like, I got to have the big heaping pile of everything I own or every thought I have. And then
Kondo method.
Yes. And then I cleaned it up and pivot things. And So, you're exactly right. And one quick tip that I think will help people is to determine your outcomes first. So when after you've determined the topic, then think about, okay, what are the possible outcomes that someone could get from this? In the case of the job script, it was like not ready at all, sort of ready, but needs some work, and then totally ready. And in my case, it's an expert or mentor. And then you kind of reverse engineer what would help you to, what things could you figure out about someone that would then let you know that they belong in that particular bucket or that they would get that particular outcome. Yeah. And then so you reverse engineer that way.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense to me. It's like, work backwards. So I'm trying to think out loud as for my own, just in case that helps people too. So right now, because I am so extra busy with this little nugget, I'm trying to sell more of my best-selling book Accelerator, which is an online program that walks people through it all the way through. So they could DIY it with my stuff. It like walks them through, but then it also has the option of a coaching program if they want like the upgraded version or whatever. Instead of doing more of the done for you, really high touch private services, just because I don't want to hire like 15 people and like scale it like that. I want to just take the projects I want to work on and that's it kind of thing. Right. So my goal then in talking with, if I were to do a quiz like this, would be to see if they are ideal for the best-selling book Accelerator. Mm-hmm. So then that means I could ask questions like, maybe things like, are you an independent worker? Which you would need to be for the program, but still like to have access to fast tech support or something like that. Like I'm trying to think of questions that would help me to determine who really would be best for this. Or even like, do you have a budget for help, but you don't want to like break the bank? Because I think that people who are ideal for the best-selling book Accelerator also they don't necessarily want to do it $0 anymore because they know they can, but it takes freaking forever because you have to learn a whole new can of worms and search Google and Amazon for the rest of your life.
Totally. Similar to me, like who I'm attracting for who wants help with quizzes. It's like you could muscle your way through it,
right?
But it's going to take you a while, and you could be spending that time doing like a million other things that are going to grow your business.
Exactly. But maybe they're not at the point where they're like, yeah, I want to drop 5 figures on help, like really like having every little step done with me or done for me kind of thing. So they're kind of like in the middle. Mm-hmm. So asking questions to zone in on that and even give them clarity that that is the right solution for them.
Right. 100%. So what you could do is like, I can almost envision something like better words. This is total draft, but like, what's the best way for you to finish your best-selling book? And then you like the best approach, or what's actually going to get you to finish your best-selling book or something like that. And then you would be pointing them towards, if they are ready to work with you, then, or ready to be in the accelerator program, then you would just determine like, what's the characteristics of that person. And then you would obviously direct them there. And you may end up with people who are like, they want their hand held. And if it's, a high ticket, but high touch offer, then, and if you have the availability on your calendar to point people in that direction, if their results indicate they should be pointed in that direction, you could always have that as a result too. Like you'd be better working one-on-one. Right. Click here to set up a call with me to discuss that further or whatever, or I currently have a wait list for one-on-one clients. But in the meantime, you could be part of the accelerator.
Right. Yeah. And I'm kind of thinking too of like a hybrid where it's like you're part of the accelerator, but then you also get a couple of hours with me versus, because right now it's kind of like all or nothing. Like you get the accelerator or it's like really, really high. Like, okay, how about something in the middle? So if I just get a lot of responses that seem to be in the middle, then I could even create a better offer for people.
100%. Like that's another thing I absolutely love about quizzes is it's such great information to inform your next business decision, for sure.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, it really seems like it's just a smart approach all around for your audience and for you. And that's why I love books too, because I think that it helps the person reading it, but then also helps your business. So I really just like things that are going to help both sides. And it's not like one-sided. Yeah, exactly. Multi-purpose.
We have like a lot on our plate already. All of us do, but whether we're all like, I'm part of your audience but I'm, and you're a business owner and I'm a business owner. So like we have a lot to do internally and we have a lot that we're consuming as members of other people's audiences. So if you can give them something that's going to serve multiple purposes, something that's going to serve a great purpose for your business and a great purpose for your audience, then it's a win-win.
I love that. Amazing. Let me see. I'm just going to look back at my notes. Yeah, I think I asked everything that I was planning to ask. So brandmessagequiz.com, is that right?
Yeah, brandmessagequiz.com.
Okay, cool. And then AnnmarieRose.com as well. And then on Facebook, you're at Ask Annmarie Rose. Also Instagram as well, Ask Annmarie Rose. And then you've got a YouTube channel. What do you post on there?
So that one, I don't do like weekly uploads, but I will do series every so often. I recently did a series on creating quizzes for your business. I ran through the entire Quizness framework in 8 separate videos. So I post all different types of videos related to building a purposeful and profitable online brand, whether we're discussing, how to clearly communicate your brand message, specific tools, great podcasts to listen to, a whole range of content on there that specifically tailored to entrepreneurs who want to grow a purposeful and profitable online brand.
That's awesome. Oh, and that reminded me, what is the Quizness framework?
The Quizness framework. So the Quizness framework, we're ending with a bang here. This is my start to finish framework for creating an effective and engaging quiz that grows your brand. So it's basically 8 steps, but the easiest way to describe it is actually just to break it down into the 4 key phases. So it's 2 steps per phase. And the first phase is to strategize. So thinking through why is it that you're wanting to create a quiz for your brand and what's the best type to create for your brand. That's kind of the first couple of steps in that first phase. And then the second phase is the creation phase. So here's where you're actually titling your quiz, determining those outcomes, writing those questions, and then putting together all those different, determining what dynamic components you want to include as well, like images and things like that. Then the setup phase is phase 3. So this is where you're choosing the right quiz platform for you, getting it set up, configuring it so that the right information is being sent over to your email service provider, and all that good stuff that needs to happen in order for you to get the data that you need and for things to happen after people take the quiz. And then the 4th phase is the promote and follow-up phase. So that's when you are finding new people to create or to take your quiz so that you're actually growing your audience with it. And then also making sure you've got a follow-up system in place to continue communicating with your quiz respondents so that they actually become paying clients and customers, and you can serve them on a continuous basis, and they'll become loyal fans of your brand.
I love that. And then people can check out your series on YouTube too if they want to go even more in depth.
Yeah.
I love that.
I have a video on each specific step. So there's 8 total steps, and so it's like 2 videos per phase.
Awesome. Well, Everin is losing his patience, so I need to go play with him.
Yeah.
But I so appreciate your time. This is really fun, and I encourage people to go and check out your quiz and really explore that as an option for their business and reach out and connect. Hey, you naughty. And we'll have to do a round 2 in the future.
Yes, for sure. Thanks so much, Laura. It was great to be here.
Yeah, thanks so much for being with me. And everyone, stay tuned. We'll talk again soon when we'll find more ways to write copy that pops. You naughty.